Well, Frank, I invented this basketball, first of all, the AccuShot ball. The purpose of it is to help young players become better shooters. And I came up with that idea when I was training my son, Aaron Pierce. He was playing YMCA basketball. And a lot of parents was coming up to me. They recognized me. They followed me, some of them that when I played ball, and they was asking me if I could train their son to shoot the basketball. And what I noticed, a lot of the kids, they were shot putting the ball out of their palms instead of putting it on their
Hmm.
fingertip pads, which allowed them to have better rotation at the top of their shot with more consistency and accuracy. That's how I came up with the idea of the AccuShot 22 ball. Uh, I mean, I would like to be known for more than just a basketball player. You know, I'm a father,
Oh, sure, right.
I'm a and I'm a teacher. I believe in giving back to especially young athletes that want to become better basketball players, and that's important to me.
Well, I'll tell you a quick little story, and it'll get you right where we're going to go. I did an interview with Eric Davis a few months ago. Eric Davis that played at Houston, right? So I think Eric was there at the
Okay,
same time you were, if I'm not mistaken, at Rice. Okay, and it was
right.
kind of the same thing. We the goal was not to talk about Phi Slamma Jam and how that beginning gets him to where he is now. So, if you wouldn't mind, give us a little background that we don't know about how you got started at Rice and actually how you got to Rice, and then how that kind of gets you to the evolution of being able to be a father, be a teacher, be a coach, and that so on and so forth.
Well, my flight to Rice was a little different from the recruiting process. Um, I went to a junior college, a community college in Walla Walla, with intentions to
Okay.
transfer to Washington State and play for George Rowland. I really want to play in that Pac-10. So after one season at Walla Walla, the weather was cold, too much snow. I'm from Texas, okay? And
Right.
so I decided that I wanted to be closer to home. And that way to have my parents and family would have opportunity to watch me play. So I looked into the Southwest Conference. Of course, it was really strong at that time. Um, and so I looked at different schools and A&M and Baylor. They had guys that I came up playing against. They were pretty position I played. So I was looking to be a little different. So I decided that I would look at Rice University because they saw that at the bottom. I wanted to make a difference. And I thought it would be
Right.
an opportunity for me to jump right in the lineup. And so it happened.
Now, when you're at Rice, and then obviously you're playing against, Elijah Drexler, Michael Young, you're playing against Darrell Walker, you're playing against Scott Hastings, you're playing against a lot of guys that are in the NBA. At what point did you realize, hey, I'm going to be pretty good at this?
Well, it really started fifth, sixth grade that I thought I could be a pretty good
Okay.
basketball player. It just didn't start at Rice, but let's jump ahead and get to Rice. Um,
Okay.
the
Okay.
competition was fantastic. Uh, I didn't go in thinking that I was just going to set it on fire. I just wanted to be fit in and be one of the elite players in the conference. And the competition was great. And so after my sophomore year, uh, I went into my junior year. I made sophomore of the year my sophomore year. And I say, well, hey, I might have a chance to become a pretty good player in this conference. So I just kept
Right.
working hard over the summer, and my junior year was better. And then my senior year, I told myself that, you know what, I'm gonna go for it this year. So I trained hard all summer, and I came back and just the hard work paid off.
Now, kind of making that transition to not just the NBA, but after that, when you start working hard that summer and you're working on your shot, does that give you kind of the beginning thought of, hey, this is how you're supposed to do this, and then that transitions to how you develop the accurate shot and all of that, or is it you weren't really, it didn't really kick in at that point?
Well, I wasn't really thinking about the AccuShot shooting aid and ball at that time, but I figured out my touch and my shot. I knew that I had to put the ball on my fingertip pads to get better rotation. You know, I came up watching guys like Charlie Scott, you know, George Gervin, you know, Bob McAdoo, those guys, and Rick Barry that I really tried to emulate a little bit on my shooting touch. And what I noticed, those guys were shooting the ball off their fingertip pads. And so that kind of gave me more of an insight to really try to keep it on my pads.
And you transitioned to the NBA after that, after being Southwest Conference Player of the Year, your senior year. And what do you think I'm going to be this great shooter, or do you have that niche in mind as you became six man of the year twice and all that? Are you thinking I have a niche, or are you just going out and playing ball?
Well, I knew my strength. I knew my strength was going to be scoring the basketball. And initially, I just wanted to come in and fit in, try to learn the game. You know, I'm learning a new position as well, from small forward to shooting guard. So it was a huge transition for me. But I just wanted to become a player. I wanted to play a lot of years. I mean, the determination that I had, because I love basketball, I had a passion for it, and I just wanted to compete.
Well, and you stuck on something there that I think is very important. Is when you have a passion in something that you do, you tend to become better at it because you're willing to work at it. And I think that when we see players, and I'm going to go to another number 22 with the Bucks that I kind of run across when he was younger was Michael Redd. Kind of the same thing. When he came up, he wasn't known as a shooter, but when he got to the league, you better learn how to shoot the ball, and that's what he did. So, and that was the passion of what you do, not to compare 22 to 22, but to look at it that way. So when you're in the NBA and you're thinking, okay, I'm doing well. You know, I'm doing okay. I have a career. I've played the length of time that I thought I was going to play, or at least I was hoping to play. And then you get to the point where you go, all right, now I'm out of the NBA and I'm running around teaching my kids how to play. What's the genesis of the shooting tool?
Well, it's an all-purpose ball, first of all. It's just not a tool for shooting. I mean,
Okay.
you can play 3-on-3, full court, but the gist of it is a lot of kids, they want to become great shooters, right? And they can do all the dribbling and the behind the back and the and one play, but the key is putting the ball in the hole. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, and with the game today, you have so many guys that's shooting the ball. It's not a big man game. You have to be able to shoot the ball. And so that's the emphasis.
Right.
And the purpose of this ball is to give you more consistency and accuracy. So that's why it's so important. With this ball, it's going to give kids that. That way they can maximize their game. You know, it's more to this than shooting, but we're not talking about the other part. I'm talking about the shooting part. And so to maximize your shooting, this ball is a great tool and it won't restrict your game.
And you mentioned some guys that I thought were just fantastic. Rick Barry, Bob McAdoo guys. I actually have my Bob McAdoo jersey sitting over on the chair right now. When you're growing up watching those guys, and now you're transitioning that to guys watching you, how does that feel? Guys saying, "Hey, I want to be a great shooter like Ricky Pierce was." How does that feel?
Well, I really don't think about it that way.
Okay.
Uh, Only thing I really think about is, I mean, it's a thumbs up if young players want to emulate my shooting technique, which I think is a great technique.
Yes, yes, without a doubt.
So, yeah, so it make you feel pretty good. You know, the kids would want to say, I want to be able to score the ball and shoot the ball like Ricky, because I was saying the same thing about George Gervin. Then I had an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to play against George, which
Oh, wow.
was a real thrill for me because it was a guy that I came up watching. And even McAdoo, for instance, when he was coaching in Miami, I'm out there warming up and I have these discussions with McAdoo, and I throw McAdoo the ball, I pass it to him, and he got a kick out of I'm telling him, Mac, just shoot that shot one more time for me. I mean, I want to see that shot just one more time. So that was kind of fun. It was cool just, watching those guys, then you end up meeting them. And that was really cool.
Well, and you talked about your son playing at the Y, and I think that that's one of the things that we don't get to as much as fathers and sons, uncles and nephews, and whatever, teaching them how to play by being there with them. And I think what you're talking about is this kind of helps that, that father son thing. I'm sure a lot of people that have purchased this apparatus have gone out and played with their kids, and it kind of, you show your passion, they show their passion, and they improve that way.
Well, and that combination of you with your kid. I mean,
Right.
that's being a father and you hanging out with your kid. And I believe that's what fathers supposed to do, parents supposed to do. Spend time with your kids. Don't just worry about your own individual careers. That's why when I talked to you earlier about being a father and a husband, I spend a lot of time with my son. Of course, now he's a professional tennis player. Um, so it all worked out. He have those work ethics and habits. I mean, I trained him a lot, so and he just carried it over into tennis.
And basketballs, I'm a former basketball tennis player too. And the John Lucas thing, basketball transitions to tennis very well. The movements are about the same. You have to shuffle, you have to do this, you have to do that. So working with them on something helps them do something else.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, so we get to the point where now we've got the AccuShot 22 out in the market. How should people look at it as far as where can they get it? How can they use it? What should they use it for?
Well, you can go to AccuShot22.com, go to the site. You all the information is there, and it's a great site to go to. And what it's for is to help develop your shooting techniques. Going to create that muscle memory, give you the backspin that you
Mm-hmm.
need at the top of your shot, your release point, and it's an all-purpose ball. And it comes in two
Okay.
sizes, the size 7
Because
and size 6.
so you've got the girls' ball and the boys' ball.
Yes, and I'm working on the junior ball also.
Okay, good, good. Now, when I have to ask this, I'm sorry, I have to go back and ask this. When you play in your first All-Star game, and you think, okay, I am that guy now. I've made the All-Star team. You look around the locker rooms like I'm playing with the All-Stars. Now, when you look back at that in retrospect, and how that affected your life, your career, and then your product, how do you tie all that together? Does one have anything to do with the other? It's just that was the signpost in the road.
Well, first of all, it's a great accomplishment to play in an all-star game. And it showed all the hard work and determination paid off. I think that's one of the things that most players, one of their goals is to become an all-star. And for as the ball, it just showed that the consistency of shooting it off your fingertip pads, what it did for me. I mean, I became an all-star just because I understood as a shooter, you keep the ball on your fingertip pads at your release point, and it's going to give you more consistency and accuracy. And if you look at a lot of guys, the
Well,
great shooters, you see where the ball being released off of their fingertip pads.
well, I want to thank you for joining us. I know we kind of had a little problem with the connection. I understand the internet gremlins have been messing with everybody lately, so I want to thank you for taking the time. I want to make sure we get the information out there. It's www.accushot22.com.
Yes, sir. That's it.
Great. Okay, Ricky, it's been a pleasure. Thanks again. Like I said, we come up from the same basic time frame, and when I still thought I could play, I'd watch you and go, "No, I can't." So I appreciate you being on it and telling us some of your stories.
All right, Frank, my pleasure.